Alabama Gulf Coast 2023 tax lien auctions. So this is going to cover Mobile and Baldwin counties right there on the Gulf Coast, and there are two auctions that are about to happen. Baldwin's is next week, is basically April 18th, and then Mobile about a month later in around May 15th, I believe. So let's take a look at what's in these auctions and just go from there. So let's show how these 2023 auction listings compare to previous years, because both counties have seen a large increase in the tax properties and tax liens going to auction in the last 2 years. So if you look, 2023 for Mobile County is about on par with 2022, but in years before that it was typically a good bit lower. I think 2020 is an outlier in almost every comparison that we ever talk about. So your typical year, I wouldn't say 2020 was typical. So flipping over to Baldwin County, 2023 was actually roughly on par with 2022, just a few hundred properties difference. And if you go back further, you'll notice the auctions were about half the size in the 3 years leading up to 2022. So that's a pretty big difference. And I would point out, Baldwin moved to the new tax lien system for Alabama in 2019. They were a first adopter of the new law. There were only a few counties in that first year. And then Mobile moved to that same new tax lien system just the next year in 2020. So both counties have had several years working in that system, and they're kind of considered, I guess, I don't know, bleeding edge or front runners to understand how these new laws will play out and how they'll work with foreclosures and that sort of thing. So let's talk about the lost tax revenue in these auctions, because ultimately, whenever you see a tax property or tax lien going up for sale, that's lost revenue to the county that could have gone to schools and roads and education and things that would have been good for the county. So the total unpaid taxes in 2023 that were going to auction for Baldwin County are $4,342,000. Mobile County, on the other hand, was $6,964,000 for a combined total of over $11 million across the two counties. And if you've ever watched our videos, I'm going to, especially on auctions, I sound like a broken record because I'm going to tell you these are moving targets. The amounts you see on screen are the amounts that were initially published when the tax lien auctions were first released to the public. As time marches on and the auctions get closer, these numbers actually go down because property owners will redeem. They'll come back and pay their taxes, and that lost tax revenue isn't totally lost because the owner paid up and caught up. So these auctions become a mechanism for the counties to try to recover as much lost tax revenue as possible. So what type of properties are in these auctions? And so between the two county auctions, Mobile and Baldwin, we have, let's compare buildings and improvements versus vacant land. So on the one hand, you have properties with buildings and properties without buildings. And just so you know, improvements are assessed on over 7,000 of the properties in these two counties. So that's our indicator for what's most commonly a building. It could be, you know, something non-building. If someone has a parking lot with a little guard shack or something, then those are improvements. But typically these are going to be buildings, okay? 7,000 properties, which leaves almost 4,000 properties that are unimproved vacant land. Roughly 35% of those listings are vacant land. So, you know, probably by deduction here, you figured out 65% of the tax lien auction listings have buildings on them. So about 2/3 of the properties you're going to research do have buildings on them. By county, Baldwin is literally 67%, right at the 2/3 mark, and Mobile is closer to 60%. So let's talk about property values. You know, these properties are going to auction, so let's just see what the valuations are. The total auction value for Baldwin is $781 million. That's the total value of all the properties that were listed in the initial publication. And another disclaimer I always give, this is going by county valuation. It's a lagging indicator. The market value of this is almost always going to be much higher. So I think I can safely say the auction value for Baldwin is at least $781 million, but probably a good bit more given the real estate economy over the last few years. Mobile, same story, $572 million in property value going to auction. But again, that's county valuation. Should be worth more than that by actual market appraisal. So the combined total in the two auctions is $1.35 billion. That's pretty big when you think about it in terms of the property at stake here. Let's flip over and talk about the average property values. So on average, a tax lien property in Baldwin County this year is $225,000. Market value would be higher. Mobile, you'll see a drastic difference here. The average property value of Mobile in tax liens this year is $74,480. So this is kind of what we're going to get into in a moment, giving you an aerial view of the map. Is sort of a tale of two counties. There's a big difference between Baldwin and Mobile County, even though they are located side by side. So average building values. Let's think of properties that have buildings or improvements on them. Now we're thinking Baldwin has $312,000 average for properties that have buildings on there. And Mobile, on the other hand, is $102,000. So again, you see that drastic difference between the counties. And so that's a good high-level capture on what's in the auction. So at that point, I think this is a great chance to switch over. And I want to do that aerial view using Parcel Fair and show you by the map and by some of these research tools that we used what's in the auction. So let's start off. This is parcelfair.com. This is our YouTube channel is about Parcel Fair, so that's why we'll use it. We have many states that you can look through here, but in particular today, let's just click on Alabama. And this is the Alabama page that will take you, in this case, let's talk about just the auction calendar, for instance. So the Alabama auctions that are upcoming and completed for the month of April are right here. You see April 18th on Tuesday, about a week away. Baldwin is currently advertising these properties. And let's scroll down and look for Mobile. Almost a month later, May 15th will be Mobile. And so that's how you would view their properties if you want to view just that county at a time. But for our purposes today, I'm going to look at both counties at once. And so this is the map of the Bay Area, the Gulf Coast area. On the left side, you will see Mobile County, and that's the county borders drawn on screen. And on the right-hand side, or the east side, is Baldwin County. So I guess the best way to take a look at this is we'll just go clockwise, starting at the top of Baldwin County. I'm going to flip back to satellite mode so you can see some of the greenery here. In the northern part of the county, a lot of this looks kind of agricultural, maybe rural areas with large tracts of land. This is timberland by the name of it here, 720 acres here. So you see a lot of tracts here that just have, it looks like timber purposes for the land value there. The valuation on one of these 637 acres is roughly $359,000 with no structures on it. So that's one type of property you might bid on and find at the auction. You can see some of this further south. Similar land that's large acreage, somewhat remote from the cities. And definitely Baldwin has a rural aspect to the northern part of the county. We'll move further south towards Bay Minette. It's a city that you could look at. And you'll see more of like a grid layout with properties. It looks like an entire neighborhood on this piece over here on Kennesaw Avenue is currently delinquent. And some people target this in particular when they see houses being built. They like to maybe buy those up in hopes that the builder would redeem at full interest if you can get it. So that's something I know people look for, not just in Alabama, but in tax investing overall. And as you keep moving, more properties to the west here that are large acreage. And you'll see we have another city, Stapleton, as we move further south. Same story there in the Spanish Fort. And moving further south, we get to some of the areas that are actually on the bay. There's a beautiful town here at Fairhope and then near Point Clear. Some of these property values are going to be much higher. And people ask a lot, do you ever see tax properties waterfront? Well, yeah, the short answer is yes. Beautiful house right here, and this is just one of those $2.7 million valuation right on the water. I'll be honest with you, I'll be surprised if that actually makes it to auction. A lot of these properties with great appeal and that are extremely valuable, the owner might just pay a little bit late, but still before the auction. And even if it goes to auction, the likelihood of that making it to additional years of liens and into a foreclosure, it's extremely low. If you're able to get a tax lien on a property like that, let's just hope you're able to get it at a high interest and maybe make some money on it that way. So yeah, Point Clear, there's some beautiful properties there too. Again, not sure if they'll make it to the auction, but right now, a week out, they are still there. So moving further south, and we're getting into, if you put it in perspective, this is the bay separating Mobile from Baldwin. We're getting really close to this coastal area on the border of Florida where we have Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan. The property values here, I don't have to tell you, they're going to be very high. And this looks like an undeveloped lot on the beach. Yeah, it's a $3.37 million. I don't think anything's on that property. This satellite image could be a little bit dated. I don't know if they've built recently, but it's not unheard of for some of these large properties like this on the beachfront to go for quite a bit of money. So yeah, there are some choice, select, beautiful properties on the water if you can get them. It's always want to be clear about that. There's no guarantee you'll get the property or even the lien. But some beautiful properties here on the Gulf Coast that may make it to auction next week. Let's move back. So I think we're exiting Perdido Beach area, looks like, Alabama East. Cluster of lots right here, and some with houses on them even. Let's keep moving this way. It's kind of surprising how many are in this nice touristy area that look like they may make it to the auction next week. I'm honestly surprised myself looking at it this year. So keep moving west, and let's see. Let me pick one closer over here. So now, yeah, here's Gulf Shores. Actually, let's look at that first. Just across some of the bridge here, you actually have some larger tracts of land. That's Gulf Shores land. Yeah, that's some big property there. I think this is a restaurant that I've eaten at, actually, right here, that will probably redeem or not make it to sale. But, you know, you could tie up some money and maybe make some interest on it. I don't know. Prove me wrong. And moving further west, here's another little neighborhood where everything is delinquent. Who knows why? It's odd. You'd think this close to the auction, some of these would be disappearing, but they're not. Here's a couple more beachfront, just nice choice lots there. And let's pick one and dig in a little bit deeper. Let me move a little bit further. Let's just get to the end of this Fort Morgan area, I think. How about this one? Yeah, let's take a look at this property. It's valued at $1.47 million. Let's, I mean, by the map, it's a very nice property. So let's, if I click on full details, we'll actually get a picture of what's there. So this is the property reports that you get in Parcel Fair. You can see the amount due on the taxes is $10,183. The land value is $1.2 million, and the improvements are only $228,000, which means that land is worth a lot more than the house. But moving down, we see a tax lien is available. We could do a panorama view, which I'd like to do these. And I mean, usually I do this to see if the neighborhood is shady. I don't think this is a shady neighborhood, but it's just kind of cool to see what the area is like. Underdeveloped, to be honest. It's not very dense there. But the most important thing probably is this purchase option that says upcoming auction, Baldwin 2023 auction. And if we click on that, this is where we get the vital information about how to bid on the property, where to register for the tax sale, the county's phone number, and the list that the auction is in. We'll see that the auction is on April 18th at 8:30 a.m. It's online at govies.com. And these different links will take you to govies.com to actually jumpstart you right into the process of bidding on this property if that's what you'd like to do. while we're here, I'll show you. You can also see we do have links into Baldwin's county tax record systems. So, well, that one didn't find it, but at this point, you basically could go there and search for the GIS and compare it to, see, the GIS system did find it. This is the property we're talking about. So it gives you basically the same information in parcel fair, but you can see a little more detail here at the Baldwin County. There we go. There's the actual property page. So this, if you're digging in deeper and you want to know about land uses and other things like that, or classifications, roof materials, this is a great link to give you more detail about that. So that's, we just took a property and gave a nice deep dive on that. So let's close out of it. Here's another one I ran into that's even nicer. It's on Gulf Shores, and this one, the valuation is a little more balanced. The land value is worth $349 and the improvements are $497. But the same story here. You're going to look at the purchase option and see how to bid at the auction. You could do a panorama view, or you could go over and start to look at the different county research links and learn more about the property that way. But as of now, this property is also in the auction. All right, so let's go back to the map and keep moving. We're kind of exiting Baldwin County as we move west. We're hitting the Fort Morgan area, and in real life, you can actually take a ferry right here from Fort Morgan and over to Dauphin Island, which this is where we also cross the county border into Mobile. So Dauphin Island, similar story. There are some beachfront properties. There's one right there. There's some that are off water as well. Only a handful. There's not a lot of delinquent properties on the island, but you can see there are a few vacant lots and houses as well that are currently listed in the auction. So let's take a step out. Just looking big picture at Mobile, it looks a lot more dense, but there are more properties in this auction. And as we move north up the coast, you're going to see a big division here. On the left, headed towards Mississippi, you'll see more rural, more agricultural looking land. You can see kind of the green grids here where it looks like people are growing something. Also larger property tracts over here. We have 18 acres and 27 acres, just starting to look more like the countryside. Here's one that's 355 acres. Wow. So you'll see those opportunities are here, but let's go back over to the coast here on the bay, and let's just slowly work our way north. There's properties, it looks like vacant land right on the coast. I don't know if you could build on that, but there's some waterfront property nonetheless. And moving up the coast a little more, we'll see some more waterfront properties, and so a few of them more inland here as we get closer to Mobile, the city. And here's where you start to see some of the denser housing kick in. And let's just jump right up to some of that. I'm just going to skip right up to Mobile, downtown. This is a dense residential area, and you might see, in this case, some variety. We're not just looking at properties outlined in yellow that will be in the tax auction like this one, but you're seeing blue and green properties too. This blue property, the reason it's colored blue is because it's an old tax deed that has matured and is waiting to be purchased from the state. And so anything you see in blue, this is kind of deviating from our auction talk here, but these are properties you could go click the details on, and you'll see this Department of Revenue, a whole different process to buy these properties, but this is an opportunity you should be aware of if you're looking in Mobile especially. The green property, very similar. It's just an old tax lien from 2022 that you could buy directly from the county. So Mobile County keeps a list of tax liens that were left over, and this is one of them. So you can apply online, and actually here, this is a different process as well. You don't apply online, actually. You actually buy directly from the county by calling them. So that's an example of a tax lien that cleared auction last year and is still available. So back to the auction that's this year, you can see a high density of yellow properties that are at auction in the Mobile area. Again, this is the dense residential area. Moving up, some of these neighborhoods I know have, like Pritchard especially, I know a lot of tax investors that work heavily there on purchasing and rehabbing the area. It's kind of some rough neighborhoods around this area that you'd be working in. It doesn't mean they wouldn't make great rental properties, though. Once you, in the case of a lien, once you foreclose on it, you could do some rental deals there. And so moving north in the county, you'll notice very much like Baldwin, Mobile County becomes rural countryside again, with larger chunks of land available. Over here we have 315 acres and just some of that Alabama countryside that you'll see the further north that you go. So that's that overview I told you about of Mobile and Baldwin counties. But I've got a little bonus for you today. I actually want to show you, if you're investing in the Gulf Coast area, you really should consider not just Alabama, but right now in Parcel Fair, I'm showing you Mississippi now. These are the coastal counties in Mississippi, and we're out of their auction season at the moment, but there are definitely tax deeds that you could buy directly from the state there as well. Same experience, you can click on any of these properties and just go straight to a county purchase page, or the state rather in this case. And let's see, I'll just show you one real quick. How about this one? So there's a process here that's entirely different from Alabama that will walk you through with those purchase instructions to buy in Mississippi. And then lastly, Florida. The Florida border is right on the edge of where we just looked in Alabama at Gulf Shores. It actually zigzags through here. And Florida picks up immediately right there with their properties. Now, Florida is out of their tax lien season, but they have tax deeds available year-round at auction, and that's what these properties in yellow are. These are tax deeds that are available at auction right now. They do have over-the-counter tax liens. That's what these green properties are here. So those are available to purchase from the counties. We have instructions to help you through that. And then once we get, it's about a month away into tax lien season for Florida, the whole state will light up with all the auctions in about a month, and you'll see a ton of properties available in this area. So with Parcel Fair, you can invest in all 3 states there, right on the Gulf Coast, and essentially you have a lot of options all in a very concentrated area on purchasing tax properties. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you keep watching our channel. If you're not a subscriber already, hit the subscribe button, and then it will notify you when we come out with new videos. And please reach out if you have questions. We love to chat and get a dialogue started with us, and we're happy to talk shop with you about tax investing. Thank you for watching.